I will call the March 20th, 2023 order, council meeting to order, rise from moment of silence, followed by pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic and indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Byerly.
Here.
Councilmember Conklin.
Here.
Councilmember Missouri.
Here.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Councilmember Brinker.
Here. Here.
Yep, we got you, buddy.
Okay.
Approval of the minutes of the March 6th, 2023 regular meeting.
Yes.
Councilmember Rigby, do you hear us? Yes. Councilmember. Public comments and requests. Public comments, no. Comments from the board. Four B, use of Triangle Park for Easter installation.
Director of Community Life is requesting someone to speak and means in use. Stankiewicz, I appreciate that. Are requesting permission for an Easter installation consistent with the process. There's a diagram that's attached to the council. And the Director of Community Life said that she works with partners to ensure all liability insurance prior to the installation. Council is aware. Outdoor park school. Also, just as a side note, 1989 U.S. Supreme Court case about that this does meet some of the threshold set by second.
Looking at. See it's 4 by 8.
Well, now, in between, pieces of plywood are going to be a series of cinder blocks. Cinder blocks for 10 pounds. That would be a total of 400 pounds. Excuse me, 40. Anyway, it will be anchored by the cinder block to prevent chip hazards or any kind of.
Councilmember Byerly. Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
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 Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Thank you. Look forward to it. All right. Any other requests?
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll move to unfinished business. 5A, consideration of ordinance number 2023-02.
This is the second reading of the second ordinance of the year. This is to amend the general fund budget to incorporate the stormwater fund budget. The stormwater fund's original budget was $478,000 through cuts to the general fund and incorporating some of the other expenses. The general fund will be reduced to a remaining balance of $101,000 this year as a budgeted amount.
Second read, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion? Second. And a second. Further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Speak up so we can hear you.
I'm doing my best. Can we amend on second reading?
Can you amend what this amendment is?
I guess it would depend on what the amendment is.
If it changes what this is all about,
Right.
then
It
we'd
doesn't.
have to go back to the whole process.
And my bad, I should have raised this last time. Just to say in the third paragraph, that it's actually the Commonwealth Court that made the ruling on the Westchester case.
That is not substantive, so that can be,
So we can just change that?
yes, from Pennsylvania Superior Court to Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court.
Those of you who made the motion, are you okay with that change?
The next paragraph has Supreme Court too.
Okay,
I guess they can file an appeal with the Supreme Court.
right, but you made the motion, you're okay with
Yes,
that
I'll
being changed?
amend it to
Okay.
adjust.
So that's been changed. Anything else? Other comments, questions? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 5B, consideration of the 2023 capital improvement program.
Last week, council members were provided the anticipated water fund capital project costs through the year 2027. And also the same for the sewer capital project. Did anyone have any additions to any of those programs?
No, anyone?
No.
So those will become the subject of future discussions for borrowing. A lot of those have already been approved expenditures, but are happening this year, next year, like old phase one, but they still occur in that budget. So that brings us tonight to the general fund capital projects, as well as the use of highway aid, which is on the back of that page. The general fund capital projects, those that are already on the horizon for this year and next year are on the worksheet. The final worksheet that you receive and approve will go out 6 years, but just for working space, we're just looking at this year and next year on this worksheet this evening. So you see there are a variety of items like the Green Light Go grant that the city got, that does have a city share for both Second Avenue and Fairview. And the city share is listed for both 2023 and 24, as well as the total grant amount. There are a variety of items that are not grant supported, but are investments into the city, such as levee benches and trash can replacements for those that are broken. Also the levee relief well testing, the council already approved this year. The 30,000 for that is located in there as well. You also see upgrades to several parks, including Hoberman Park, which in all between this year and next year is $1.9 million investment, of which city taxpayers only have to pay $128,000 from their local taxes. The rest is coming from state and federal funds. Taggart Park upgrades are also taking place this year. Excuse me, and this year the city will also start the Triangle Park planning by getting public input and doing preliminary design to begin to apply for grants to cover any improvements to that facility as well. The recycling center at Myrtle Street, the city put in a grant to Pennsylvania DEP to relocate that up to Second Avenue Garage so that we can also install a camera system at that location as well. And that is something that DEP is favorably looking at. They do think that's a good idea as well. So hopefully that grant will come through. So you can see a variety of uses there. That leaves at the end of this year, $279,000 in remaining fund balance in the capital improvement fund. Now, if you look at next year, the city's share of projects that are already approved, as well as some other minor equipment purchases, especially for public works, including a tire balancer, nothing over 15,000. That leaves the city next year with a negative $50,000. And so obviously that's where next year's donation into the capital improvement fund comes into play during the regular budget season. You'll see that up above, there is no annual transfer showing there. So that's where you make up that money, depending on the projects that you put in this year. Next year, we'll adjust how much that donation, so to speak, that transfer needs to be next year. So there are open lines. So if council has suggestions on other uses for the capital that you would like us to explore, to bring back to you for the next meeting, we can certainly do that.
Anyone has anything now, you can bring it up or think about it in the next meeting.
Yeah, if you'd let us know before the next meeting so we can
Right.
do some cost investigation. Then on the back of that sheet, of course, is highway aid, state liquid fuels tax. That has been designated by council each year to be used for the stormwater and paving infrastructure in Sunset Pines until that is completed. That is at least a 4-phase project. Next year, this year's is approximately $700,000. Next year is a skip year because of some issues with water line relocation. So then that moves to 2025. So you'll see at the end of 2027, if no project costs were to ever inflate over time, there would be 129,000 left at the end of 2027. At that point, council would be able to start using those funds for other projects beyond
Right.
Sunset Pines.
Well, that one has been left go for a long, long time. Wish we could do it faster. Oh, do it so quickly. Any questions from council? We have any other unfinished business?
I had none, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. 6A, consideration of ordinance number 2023-03.
Before the Public Works Director speaks on this, I do want to just point out, these are standards that come from the city engineer. And they provide for the city a comprehensive program of stormwater management best practices, including the reasonable regulation and development of activities for the public health, safety, and welfare. This is completely separate than a stormwater management fee. These are the standards to which a developer would have to elevate their project in order to gain approval by the city. And again, these are designed by the city engineer.
Greg highlighted the points there. Basically, like Greg, the Geisler Clinic, we sat around and discussed their pavement, their stormwater drainage. Now this gives us some rules and regulations that we can follow, and then make sure we can enforce that through the ordinance. Those will be very helpful for city development.
Any questions, council?
Yes,
Okay, Richard, go ahead.
I would be prepared to bet that after tonight, nobody will ever read section 306 on riparian buffers. But just in case they do, could we amend section A? Because you cannot say any applicant will not. You have to say no applicant may. And in order to preserve the sense of that, if you make that change, then line 4, after application, insert a comma and change and to but. That fixes section A, I think. On section B, I have read this probably for an hour yesterday, and I cannot for the life of me make any sense of it. It looks like it was written by somebody who was trying to pack their suitcase 5 minutes before the bus arrived. There's everything is in there. And I don't know which of these conditions are subordinate to other ones, but I think what might happen is that if you insert the letter A on line 1 after when A, the activity requires a permit, B, where the project site is located in an exceptional value area, C, where there are waters failing to attain one or more designated uses, and that's all you need. I honestly don't know whether that's what the intent of this paragraph is. I think it is, but if you wouldn't mind reviewing it, I think at the moment it's impossible to understand what the conditions are.
We can take your concerns back to the city engineer.
Yeah, I honestly cannot understand that. The rest of it seemed to me to be fine. There's an awful lot of it.
What's to be first reading, so
Correct.
we can pass it with, them looking into that to make sure that we get it straight before second reading, correct?
Right.
And of course, I know you got notes of what is it, as far as word.
Yes.
Any other things, Richard?
No,
Anyone else have any concerns with the ordinance? Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Yeah,
Second.
and a second on the floor. Any further discussion on the ordinance? Call for the vote?
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, we got you. 6B, consideration of ordinance number 2023-04.
This is relatively similar. This is something the Director of Public Works and the city engineer worked on to update the requirements for sewage and sewer disposal. Wait, speak to that.
James Griggs said, this is just bringing this entire ordinance up to date, the current rules and regulations.
Any questions from council? Richard, did you have any on this one?
No,
I'm not picking on you, you were very detailed in going through something like that.
I was so tired by the end of the other one. I'll let this one go.
I have, just now thought, do we require or ask our other customers not in the city to attempt to also have installation events and traps and inspection reports? So we're not different than anybody else. We ask them to do the same.
Correct.
We do, okay.
They have to adopt those ordinances themselves. But we do send like changes from the city sewer ordinance to them because they are to have the same requirements that we have under the agreements to treat their municipal wastewater.
So then we'll see the other municipalities following suit here once this
You should.
all passes through, okay.
Any question?
No, that's it, thanks.
Do I have a motion on this ordinance?
So
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion, questions?
I have a question, for Public Works. If, I assume this falls in line closely with what the state would require for building codes.
Correct, yeah.
So if somebody does an addition to their property, an addition to their house, I understand new construction would have to abide by this. Would an addition to a property also then make them have to abide by the same regulation? For instance, if another bathroom was installed.
This doesn't follow that, that's actually under building code.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good, thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed something. Transfer of property not in compliance. Does this mean that any sale of property in the city of Lockhaven will be subject to an inspection of the sewer laterals before that sale can be finalised?
Yes,
That's new, isn't it?
yes, that's it.
That'll go down like a lead second.
Well, the sewer equivalent doesn't go over well. However, the sewer or the water equivalent, but is very rare. And that is when two independent facilities share a single water service, which does happen from time to time. But as part of that sale, the property owners must install an independent water line.
Right.
And so it isn't very frequent that that really applies, but it can from time to time.
And it does protect the buyer, right?
Yes.
So that's sort of important.
That's one of the worst things.
Yeah,
Let the buyer beware, at least for helping a little bit.
I know there are many municipalities that do require this lateral inspection, but it is not at all popular. So I think before we finally pass this ordinance, we should just make sure everybody is aware of that provision.
I think you've just done that.
Well done.
I guess so.
Any other questions or comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes,
Councilmember Brinker,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 6C, we have three different things that we need to pass that have to do with our funding.
Correct. These are the annual resolutions for community development block grant funding. And I'll let the city planner speak to these.
So the first one is the fair housing, which is, as Greg said, annual, we are required to adopt this and further fair housing options. The second is the section 504, which is making sure we have accessible facilities and protecting those rights as well. The third is a budget revision from the 2019 PDBG contract. This moves the remaining funds from the Piper Arman project, which is $13,585.70, into the East Bald Eagle Ray Street paving. Tony doesn't know this yet, but it might get us an extra street or so, but, and that work will yeah, it will, occur this year. We're gonna wait until school's out there, before we dig into that street.
Sure. So we can do this all in one motion, since it all has to do with the same thing. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Well. This is all federal language, I assume.
Yes,
Nevertheless, on the fair housing resolution, which is written almost entirely in the third person, you can't at the end of it say, if you are a person. To be consistent with the rest of the document, it really should say, any person with a disability and requiring should contact the business offices. I'm sorry to be niggly, but
well, it's okay. I copied and pasted from DCB. They sent those right to me, so we'll let them know.
I suspected that. Do we not any longer have that weird resolution about not using excessive violence in suppressing demonstrations? Or is that some other issue?
No, we don't have to update the other one regularly if we do a project that displaces people. We just from time to time have to do that. We're notified when that needs to be renewed, but we don't have one about protests that I know of.
Okay,
Any other questions?
no, I'm satisfied.
Anyone else have questions or comments? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
yes,
Councilmember Brinker,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Subject to fixing that, yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 60, consideration of the appointment of Bree Reynolds to the Recreation and Parks Board.
The Director of Community Life has contacted Bree Reynolds, who I believe is here this evening, of South Fairview Street, a resident of the city, to be appointed to the Recreation and Parks Committee to a vacancy on that board, and to also serve on the subcommittee of that board on the Shade Tree Commission, which I believe Councilmember Stevenson is also on that subcommittee.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Any other comments, questions? Thank you for stepping up. A lot of people don't these days. We appreciate your help. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
yes,
Councilmember Lawrence,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 60, notice of the spring cleanup.
Okay, Public Works will be conducting the annual spring cleanup. We'll be doing that April 10th and April 11th, and then April 17th and April 18th. Those are Mondays and Tuesdays. And as always, if people want to do it themselves, we have a dumpster up at 99 Second Avenue for people to bring up brush collection. Also with this memo, the city water department will be flushing hydrants. We'll be in the Mackinnon area, April 3rd through April 14th. Castania, April 17th through April 28th, and the city, May 1st through May 26th.
Thank you. Any other new business? Greg?
None, Your Honor.
Hey. FYI reports, so on. The old committee is one.
Yeah, there's a variety of reports included, several photos of the progress on Wolves Hole Phase 1 improvements. Thank you from the Clinton County Economic Partnership. Copies of letters for council to Suburban Water Authority and the Lock Haven City Authority. The minutes of a couple committees of which council participates, and the Clinton County Economic Partnership will have its next time out on April 20th, and a brochure for that has been included in your packet.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to bring before council?
I just have one quick thing I wanted to say. I think it's great that we have so many people here tonight in support of diversity in our community. For the Cross Project, we had some discussion last week about, or last meeting about a project. We didn't have quite the crowd, but it's great that people understand how important it is that we recognize all different kinds of groups and their needs, and how important that is to our community to be attentive to a variety of community needs. So thank you.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You do.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening.